This program is aimed at stimulating and modifying the group behavior at workplace. The TSC exercise simply involves capturing the workplace activities in a handycam. Nowadays, CCTVs are available, and screening to the group of employees, supervisors, and managers together for marking appropriate, inappropriate culture seen in the footage using a structured check sheet with a score. We'll show you the check sheet. This is very advanced and comprehensive, includes not only critical human behavior, but all other factors also, like environment you can see in the picture, engineering, systemic factors influencing the human behavior. The environment around the workman also alters his behavior. Sustainability and culture. This leads to sustainable change in workplace culture. If you practice it for long, it gets embedded in his bloodstream, and it becomes his attitude. Positive stimulus. Viewing in group with evidence in front of eyes and self-audit. You are self-auditing your workplace. So, and you check the deviations against the TSC check sheet. That generates a stimulus for positive change in individual and the entire group behavior. Because suppose one person is not wearing PPE in a hazardous area, and all of us look at that, he will feel ashamed. And he would not like to become he would not like to become a laughing stock. So again, that sends some stimulus in him to correct his behavior. Team ownership. Because the team is involved, greater involvement of employees, supervisors together leads to an on-the-spot resolution of many tricky issues. There are many issues which you can see through the camera, and you can pass by in the plant, but when you come and see it in the conference room, you actually concentrate on many of the issues. Operators will try to pinpoint some of the problems which they have been facing, and that can be resolved there on the spot. Solution will come. This is a simple management tool driven by employees and supervisors, capable of tracking the ground situation and measuring progress. A real ground exercise and not an intellectual one. But there is one danger, that once you use camera, it becomes a policing tool. Employees should not perceive it to be. It is for the benefit of the organization, and management must take care in using this. So before the video footage is screened, the participants must go through the checklist and the factors looked for. This is a typical check sheet where you can capture how he is rushing, whether he is standing or working in line of fire, overstretching, while traveling, whether his eyes are on path, whether he looks before moving, ascending, descending, or does he have a three-limb contact? Because with, say, a very sensitive composition in hand, if the operator walks or rushes, or he bangs against something, it is going to become very hazardous and dangerous. Tools and equipment, whether correct selection he has done, right condition of the tool, right method of use, mind use, is he distracted? That you can see in the camera, whether he is drowsy or he is under influence of some drug. Environmental factors, how is the housekeeping? Segregation, labeling, things in place and place for everything. Clear pathways, emergency exit, waste and effluent handling, explosives not in wrong place, spill control, all these factors will come. You can see it in the picture and you can discuss. Engineering control factors, layout, space, design, ventilation, illumination, noise, all these things can be checked. Maintenance status, machine guarding, work ergonomics, lifting, vending, VDU use, all these things can be checked. Systemic factors like whether they are emergency egress, firefighting equipment, etc., adequate, incompatibles not together, MSDS, material safety guide in place. Anyway, now I will deal with the critical behavior inventory for explosive industry. Typically, it is relevant to explosive industry. What are those critical behaviors to be adopted by people working, whether managers, supervisors, or workers? So I've just made an inventory which is generically useful. Incorrectness, like use of incorrect tools, equipments, method, process parameter, material in use. When you go around, you should be looking for this. Rushing, we have already seen it. Rushing should be avoided. Shortcut, in order to have some immediate convenience, people adopt shortcuts at work, leading to majority of accidents that you will find. Walk past, as we have talked, an unsafe condition or behavior. This applies to supervisory or managerial people more, because they should not overlook. Stretch it till it breaks. This applies to the plant managers resorting to maintenance only when the plant breaks down. This is important for explosive industry. We can't afford to. No scheduled inspection and preventive maintenance. Incompatibles together. Whimsical changes. You make changes in the plant process and parameters without having a change management system. Numerous accidents around the world have happened when the change in a hardware process specification was done for some immediate benefit without evaluating the future consequences, no risk assessment. Push button training. Many organizations have got push button training system. Push button means you start and stop, you produce. That's the end of the training, which is extremely bad. Accidents have happened when the operator knows only to produce and doesn't know the materials he is charged to handle. He cannot tackle an abnormal situation. Training is considered waste in many organizations. I know many. A wrong action by an operator, supervisor, or a plant manager in an unusual situation can play havoc. That becomes very important. Within a minute or a few minutes, what action is taken by the immediate person present at the scenario, that becomes very critical. No accident recall. There is no system of recalling the incidents that have happened. Hide it. Don't discuss. It's a bad thing to discuss. There are many organizations where this culture exists. Fish ignored. Friction impact, static and heat situations. We have been discussing this. Very basic for explosive safety. If that is ignored, emergency response. One action in emergency, wrong action, could again trigger major other emergencies. So proper rehearsal, mock drill, training, and I'm confident the accidents can be minimized and controlled if we can take care of the above factors in management of industry, which is different from others, as I said in the beginning itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Upadhyay, for your experience and the simplest way in which you have described the human behavior. And I fully agree with you. Human behavior, it's not only in the explosive industry. In our day-to-day life, it really counts. Now, if I say that the organizers, the technical committee, and all the people who have made this Explosave 2016, they've done a wonderful job. I'm sure they'll not feel bad about it. So that's what human behavior is all about. It's not only in the explosive industry, it's in our daily life also. But since in the explosive industry, we have some contractual workers also working, and we have very little control on the contractors' workers. So their behavior has to be monitored, and it becomes the responsibility of the occupier of the explosive factory to ensure that the behavior of the contractors' workers are also in sync with the company's policy. I would just like to share a small story with you. One day a person was walking on the beaches. He found a person who was stooping down, picking up starfishes and throwing it back into the water. And he was observing this guy. So every time the starfish which was thrown into the water was again coming back on the beaches. So this guy comes and tells him, Why are you wasting your time? Every time you throw the starfish into the water, it comes back. It's going to die. He says, no, I'm doing my job. If I can save one starfish, my job has been done. So if this session can prevent one accident, one life, I think the job of this session is done. So I thank all the presenters of this session. They've really done a wonderful job, but you are the best judges to really find out what they've done. And we come to the question and answer session. Even at 5 o'clock in the evening, people have questions. So, Mr. Vidyasagar?
It is Mr. J.N. Mishra. He is asking, what is the safe procedure for destroying ammonium nitrate? You please give ammonium nitrate to us. We will try to use in our processes rather than destruction, okay? Maybe if it is the right quality AN, we will try to use in our processes. But if it is a defective AN, yes, it has to be destroyed by way of burning. Burning in the sense, it has to be made ANFO, sprinkled with diesel oil or kerosene at 5 to 6% level, spread it as a uniform layer and burn it as we have discussed. The better way would be that, but without diesel oil or without kerosene sprinkling, if one tries to burn, it leads to generation of NOx fumes. It's very hazardous. So that is the best way. But I don't understand why to destroy ammonium nitrate. Yes. Yeah, that's what. Yes.
500 bags or 100 bags of illegal ammonium nitrate and court order to destroy safely. What procedure should be adopted?
500 bags of illegal ammonium nitrate.
Yes, seized by police.
You have to legalize it and try to use it.
No, suppose police seizes any ammonium nitrate and then court order to destroy it safely, then what procedure should be adopted to destroy it safely?
Then the best way is legalize it, take it to the notice of authorities and try to use it. That is the best way I would say. But if it is not possible, it has to be destroyed by sprinkling diesel oil. Make it ANFO and destroy it, not as such. This is what I would like to suggest, but we never did because ANFO we always consumed. Yeah, it can be used as a fertilizer also, yeah.
I would like to reply the question about the disposal of the 500 bags of ammonium nitrate. So, in this matter, they can take the permission from the Honorable Court and sell it to the person who is authorized to store the ammonium nitrate. It can be auctioned with the permission of the Honorable Court.
True.
This can be done. In the past, we have disposed of huge quantities of explosives like this. If it is in good condition, then it can be.
True, sir. If it is true, that's what I was telling. Yeah. If it is a good material, we don't destroy, we use it. As he was telling, it is illegal ammonium nitrate. First, it has to be legalized. Thank you.
I got a question here from Mr. Ravinder Rao from Premier Explosives. I don't know if I pronounced the name correctly, but it's from Premier. How harmful is TNT vapor for the person working in the area? That's a good question. It's difficult to say how harmful it is, but it is harmful. It should be viewed as harmful, and you should avoid it. You notice if you have TNT vapor in the surrounding, it has a very bitter smell and also a bitter taste in your throat. So you should have good ventilation. That is, but exactly how harmful it is, I don't know. But I know at Bofors they have worked with TNT for at least 80, almost 100 years. And I don't know any case of serious symptoms, but it is harmful, yes. That's all I can say. Then I have three questions from Mr. Gavarte from CEO office. He asked, his first question is, can you use electric tracing for maintaining TNT in melted condition? Yes, you can, but I don't see why you should, there is nothing as safe as circulating hot water with a, I don't see any, but of course you could do that, but I think it's safer to use water with a pressure valve, because you want to be sure that you don't go above a certain temperature, and then water is perfect. And then I have the question here. Can ball valves be round ball valves mentioned be replaced with butterfly valves? Yes, from a safety point of view, it could, because it will not contain any explosives. But I have a bad experience from ball valves, from butterfly valves. They are never 100% leak-free over time, especially not when you have a slurry in the reactor. So I think there are better solutions. If you Google something called segmented ball valves, you will find some good solutions on this. Segmented ball valves. Instead of providing agitation to the TNT melt, can we provide recirculation methods like a jet mixer, or can we provide side entry agitators? Side entry, you don't want to do you don't want to have any bearings under the level of the under the explosive level liquid. It will be contaminated with explosive in the. So that is you want that I would not recommend, and it's not difficult to have an agitator. I don't see any problem with that if you have a good seal and you need. I think circulation would be difficult, because this is not only TNT, it is suspension of TNT of RDX and HMX in TNT, and that requires quite a lot of agitation energy to keep it suspended. So I don't think circulation pump would work, actually.
Yes. I hope he's answered your question.
Mr. P.C. Pradhan of Ideal Explosives, Rourkela. He has asked a very interesting questions. Sometimes the workmen do not trust the management, but on the other hand, they trust their union leaders. In this context, how to create and develop trust among the workmen? This is a pertinent question for many of the industries. And I explained in TSC exercise, when you involve your workmen, you try to involve the union leader also. It's better. Let him see the evidence of the good and bad work done by their fellow workmen. So let him be a part of the union leader, to be a part of the exercise, so that they can all witness and themselves audit the deviations, what is going wrong. The union leader will never accept a wrong thing in public. He will never appreciate a wrong action in public. So he will support you. So better to make it more participative. The TSC tool could become very effective in such situations. Hope I have answered your question. If there is more, you could ask.
Any more questions? You have some query? No, it's answered. There's another question which has come, which does not pertain to this session. It's about the ammonium nitrate rules, and it's come from NFL. In fact, NFL was also a part of the committee which formulated the ammonium nitrate rules, and there should not be any doubt with respect to the definition of ammonium nitrate. I think it's crystal clear and is there in the rule book. There's no room for any doubt. I think it's very, very, very clear. So in case if you have any other questions, you can email it to the speakers or you can email it to PESO. We'll try our best to see that we respond to your queries. I hope you had a wonderful time. This is the closing session. After this, we have the valedictory session. In fact, the valedictory session was to end by 4:45. We have overshot by 45 minutes. Call it poor time management or call it the interest of the people. It's good to see a full house at 5 o'clock. And thanks a lot for the response from all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Shri Sanjoy Sen, for being the chairperson at this session. And also thanks to all the speakers who have presented for this session as well as all the other sessions from yesterday until today. For this session, I would request our chairperson, Shri Sanjoy Sen, to present mementos to all our speakers. We will begin with Shri Debashish Mandal, Indian Oil Corporation Limited. Dr. Pair, Solar Industries India Limited, Nagpur. Shri Vidyasagar, GOCL Corporation Limited, Hyderabad. Shri Rajendra Konidina, Indian Explosives Limited, Gomia. And Shri Y.N. Upadhyay, Keltec Energies Limited, Nagpur. Thank you, Shri Sen. Now I would request Mr. Jay Khemka to come up to the dais and present the memento to our chairperson, Shri Sanjoy Sen, JTCCE, PESO. Thank you, Mr. Khemka. We will now take a short break, and this would be the final break for the two-day event. I would request everybody to take a quick 15-minute tea break and return for the valedictory session, which will be beginning shortly. I also have an announcement to make. We are going to take group photos, and I would request the following people to stay back. Contributing manufacturers to Explosave, PESO officers, and organizing committee members. After the valedictory session, we are going to take group photographs. So please stay back. Thank you very much. I hope all of you have enriched yourselves in the last 2 days of Explosave 2016. Just give me a moment. The effort of Explosave 2016 is to bring in together all explosive manufacturers to further the level of safety in the explosives industry as a whole, as we all want to assure everybody that explosive manufacturers themselves take safety very seriously. In this endeavor, the explosives manufacturers have come to rely on the extensive knowledge and guidance available with PESO, and the organization has always made extraordinary contributions to ensure a safe working environment in all explosive industries. I formally welcome you all for the valedictory session of ExploSafe 2016. Today, for this session, we have amongst us few distinguished personalities without whose support ExploSafe 2016 would be incomplete, and this experience in explosives is matched only by a few that they have here today. To bring forth amongst you all, may I please request the Chief Controller of Explosives and our patron, Dr. S. Kamal, to come up to the dais, please. I would request Sri Satyanarayan Nuval to welcome our patron, Dr. S. Kamal, at the dais. Thank you, Sri Nuval. I would also request Sri Sanjoy Sen, Joint Chief Controller of Explosives, to the dais, please. I would request Sri Raghav Rathi to welcome Sri Sen on the dais. Thank you, Sri Rathi. I would now request Sri V.N. Pangal, President EMWA, to come to the dais, please. I would request Mr. S. Mundra to welcome our President from EMWA at the dais, Sri V.N. Pangal. And now to join the dignitaries on the dais, I would request Sri R.D. Vakil, member EMWA, to come up on the dais and join our dignitaries. I would request Mr. Atul Pimplapure to come up to the dais and welcome Sri R.D. Vakil. Thank you, Mr. Pimplapure. I would now request Sri V.N. Pangal, President EMWA, to express his views on these 2 days of ExploSafe 2016, the national seminar that was conducted at this venue.
Hello. Hello. Good evening, everybody. Dr. Kamal sir, Shri Sanjay Sen sir, Mr. Vakil sir, and all my fellow delegates who have patiently been attending this function for the last 2 days. I have some observations to make on this. Now, I have to say that the proceedings of the seminar has been a strong cocktail of many events. We started with a very solemn prayer, then a very serene opening ceremony, then a rocking spirited evening full of entertainment yesterday, where I'm sure that everybody took part and enjoyed. And then so many scholarly papers which were presented by very knowledgeable our presenters, and at least very well organized by, I mean, the chairman of all sessions. They could conclude all the things, and the audience also interacted with the presenters of papers, and there was a good exchange of technical ideas. And now we are at the end of this memorable event. Now, one important development which has taken place in this is inclusion of defense explosives in our seminar. I had, at least as far as my own company is concerned, I had initial skepticism on this, how as to weapons meant for mass destruction can be exploited by a company, a commercial company like ours. But then one wise man told me a short story which I had to share with you. It seems a person visited a small town for the first time. The place was very peaceful. All people were happy. There was total communal harmony there and goodwill amongst all people. Then he was going around this beautiful town and he noticed a monstrous looking gun which was there in the center of the town. Then he asked the mayor, this is such a nice place, such a beautiful place, what is this gun doing here? It seems the mayor answered, simply said that all the peace in this town is because of that gun. Then I understood that, I mean, weapons are also meant for peace, more so for peace than any destruction. So we are very encouraged, our industry is encouraged to go into this kind of a field after having been assured that this is for a good cause, not for always destructive cause. But the point which I have to make here is enforcement mechanism is there, and even in case of safety, every factory has to have an enforcement mechanism which has got teeth. It is not just saying, everybody will behave. So safety should be enforced with some seriousness in every institution. Of course, we are helped and guided by the PESO in all the steps which we take. But then every company which is under the EMWA should have a strong safety enforcement force which will probably directly report to the highest authority, the CEO of the company, and not be influenced by the production department or any such thing. This is a necessity. I think the safety should report directly to the heads of the organization. That is what will really help. On the deliberations, as I said, there have been wonderful interactions, and even at 5:30 or 6 o'clock today, people are sitting and wanting to ask questions, and like Mr. Sanjay Sen pointed out, the planning of this event was done very meticulously. A photo gallery of all the forces behind is published in this souvenir. You will find them. Of course, the driving force behind this was always been the PESO only. I have personally greatly enjoyed being here, and I look forward to attend the next event, and I promise that I will attend every explosive event that will take place in whatever capacity I will be. And now I leave this to more eloquent speakers in this setup who can throw more lights on this. And of course, I would plead and request Dr. Kamal and Sanjay Sen to give us some advice to the explosive manufacturers at the end of the deliberations. As you remember, yesterday in the inaugural speech, our speakers requested that especially the DDP and the chairman, you must let me know what are the proceedings and what is the conclusions that you draw from this. It's a task before us. We have to go ahead with it. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, and Jai Hind.
Thank you, Shri Pangal, for your views. Now, may I request Sri Sanjoy Sen, Joint Chief Controller of Explosives, to present his views to the gathering.
Good evening, everybody. Well, Explosive 2016 has come to an end. It's an end for a new beginning. And I must say the organizers, the technical committee, they've really done a wonderful job. Round of applause. I can't hear the clapping. Explosive 2016 has definitely been better than Explosive 2013, and it's been different from what we had earlier. In Explosive 2016, we've included topics of defense because defense has come into the industrial sector. Then we've had the educational institutions having professors from IIT, deans from college who've come and graced this occasion. And it's been a big takeoff for Explosive. Plus, we've been discussing a lot about technologies, the recent trends in explosives. It's a big take home for all of us. To start with the starting, when we had the inaugural section, I found it to be the most powerful and the most enchanting sessions. Dr. Kamal started with the issues that PESO is facing and the way forward and the IT tools that PESO has developed for the industry. And then we had directors from other companies, they had voiced their concern, and unfortunately explosives was portrayed as an evil. Let me assure you that the explosives are used more for constructive work and very little of it goes for doing destructive work. It's a false notion that explosives are misused. They are misused, but it's a very small quantity that goes into the wrong hands. Another issue that was raised was having a delay timing of 10 minutes, and that's awesome. In fact, we've been hearing from Ministry of Home Affairs that they want a delay detonator of 10 minutes. We kept breaking our head. We kept telling them that you just cannot have a delay detonator of 10 minutes. If you have a delay detonator of 10 minutes, the shell would be much longer than the cartridge itself. Then somehow we've been able to convince them, and this concept of 10 minutes, 1 minute, 2 minutes, it's gone. It's not the done thing. We always have to look at the practical aspect of the situations. Another issue which was raised by the same senior person was we don't have research. I mean, it's unbelievable that in which world are we living? There are defense research organizations, there is Central Fuel Mining Research Institute. Many of the manufacturers, they have their research institutes. There's no way that a comment like that could be made. Could be all the manufacturers, they do not have a research facility, but some manufacturers do have. In fact, for any industry to progress, you really must have a good R&D backup or else the system collapses. We had Dr. Murthy from HEMRL who really countered him and gave him all the answers. And then he was talking about deviations, because the ammunition which is made for the defense, unless there is war, it cannot be used, and they have a shelf life. And there is this concept of requalifying the explosives after 15 years or 20 years of the shelf life. So in the process, what happens is the explosive limit of the magazines or the storehouse goes up, and it doesn't have the safety distances which are required. So it's a big challenge for the defense organization. So this issue was placed before CFIs, and they formed a committee, your safety distance committee, in which Mr. Murthy is the panel chairman, and a committee was constituted in which PESO was also a member of this quantity distance panel. Unfortunately, the last meeting we could not attend because there was a parliamentary committee meeting coming. And in that, it was decided that quantitative risk assessment would be carried out, And based on the quantitative risk assessment, it would be decided what would be the outer safety distance which would be required for these installations for these magazines and storehouses of defense. So PESO is not only dealing with your industrial explosives, we are closely associated with the defense explosives also. Chief Controller of Explosives, he is the chairman of the transport panel. And in fact, being the chairman of the transport panel, he has a responsibility to regulate the movement of defense explosives also. Plus, we have the MSIHC rules, which gives us additional responsibilities. So we have taken a leaf from the STEC pamphlets also, and we are trying to implement the good points of STEC, like, see the container movements. It's there in the defense. So basically, we've taken that point from the STEC pamphlet 10, and we're trying to incorporate that into the explosive rules. Coming to the technical sessions, it started with Mr. Gupta, who's a very experienced person and one of the oldest persons in the industry who's been manufacturing composite propellants. And the problems that he's faced and the issues that he's faced, he has been able to overcome that, and he's been very open in sharing it with all the industry members. That's really very good of him. And then the issue of ammonium perchlorate. Ammonium perchlorate per se is an oxidizer or a tertiary explosives. But the recent studies carried out by CFEs, it says that perchlorate having a sieve size of 10 micron is an explosive, and it falls under 1.1. And if the sieve size is higher, you have something like 1.3. So what is being considered as an oxidizer is actually an explosive. So people who are entering into the field of defense explosives must understand that the product that they are handling are not oxidizers, they are explosives, and they behave differently under different conditions. Plus, the biggest advantage, Mr. Sudhakar was asking whether there's a replacement for ammonium perchlorate. Yes, there is a replacement, ADN is there, but it's so frighteningly expensive, or else the defense organizations would have really adopted it. Now, perchlorates per se, they are not environment friendly. As per the statistics, something like 560 tons of perchlorate emits something like 100 tons of HCl. That's not good for the industry. And worldwide work is going on for green technology, for green explosives and safe explosives. That's what Dr. Agarwal was talking about, your extremely insensitive detonating substance. Probably the industry and the members of the industry, our mental level has not come up to the level of Dr. Agarwal, and we were really not able to appreciate what he was trying to talk. That's been my personal perception, could be I'm wrong. But the way forward is to go ahead with your extremely insensitive detonating substance. Like in the previous session also, I was saying that work is on, and there are explosives, like we are following the UN classification, and for your category 1.5 and 1.6, they're basically very insensitive explosives. So when you're handling explosives, it has to be safe in all stages of manufacture. So 1.5, 1.6 are basically explosives which are very, very insensitive. And UN has come out with a new test procedure, class 7 test procedures for classifying these explosives which would fall under 1.5 or 1.6. But there are very few explosives which would really fall under this category. Then again, Premier has been doing a lot of work on NHN. In fact, they took the technology from VSS, your Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, and that was in lab scale. But they upgraded that to the plant scale. And now they are in a position to give the technology to the other manufacturers. That's a big, big positive, translating from plant scale to from a lab scale to plant scale. But again, the issues associated with NHN is the shelf life. Since it's only 3 or 4 years since they've started manufacturing, there's 10 years down the line, what would be the behavior of NHN? And again, what are the environmental issues? That again has to be addressed. Then there were talks on HMX manufacture and all that. Since these are the recent explosives which has recently come into our industry, and I must congratulate our industry that within a very short period, they have been able to move over from your industrial explosives to the defense explosives. In fact, for the last 5 years, I've been hearing that Ordnance Factory Bhandara is going to come up with a new HMX plant. But till today, the civil construction work hasn't started. But Solar has been able to start their production, and they're coming up with a new plant. It's a big positive, and they're moving in a positive direction and working for the welfare of the nation, because the defense explosives, a lot of the defense explosives are being imported, and there is very little self-reliance on the ordnance factories. In fact, they are now a threat to the ordnance factories. I've been visiting quite a few ordnance factories, and then the general managers, they're very skeptical. They say, why do the private sector want to manufacture explosives which are being manufactured by the ordnance factories? Why do they want to become competitors for the ordnance factories? They can manufacture something which the ordnance factories do not do. So a threat perception is there, and whenever there's a competition, it's natural that the quality of the product goes up, the cost goes up, but then again, a lot of R&D and research work has to be done. In terms of defense explosives, we are really skeptical and watchful. As you all know, defense, your security is a prime concern. Security, because the explosives which are being manufactured are meant for defense. So the security manual for the defense has to be followed. And technology, many of them are working on transfer of technology. What is the technology that they are adopting? The technology which is being followed in other countries, whether that is adaptable to our country, and how they fit into our systems, and then what is the quality control they have, what is the traceability plan they have, and what is the trained manpower. Relying on, because it's such a industry where people really don't want to come. Explosives is probably one industry where you see people 70 plus. In any other place, you won't find anyone. So there's a dearth of experts in the explosive industry, and people don't want to come, so they're still relying on the old hands. And we really need to train the people, train the young people, young engineers who are coming into the field, so that the industry can move ahead in a positive direction. And like in the earlier session, I was discussing that destruction of the defense explosives. It's a big challenge, not only for the industry, it's a challenge for PESO. Now, as you all know, for any defense manufacturing, an industrial license is required. The industrial license is given by Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion. And it so happens that whenever an application is submitted, DIPP, they send the application to PESO. And we, in turn, go through all the documents that they submit to our office. We call for the technical reports, we call for the project reports, and we call for presentations also. But our experience has not been very good. People apply for industrial license without knowing what they are getting into. They keep searching for a consultant who can give a presentation in PESO office so that they can get an industrial license. But I must assure all these people that if they think that they can get a consultant for a presentation, they're living in a fool's paradise. Could be we do not know much about defense explosives, but we know something about defense explosives, and we really know what is happening in the industry. So it's in fact, the industry members should realize that since the conscientious manufacturers, they are entering into this field of defense explosives, if the other players who are not really serious, who do not have the technology or who do not have the manpower, if they enter into the field, then it's going to spoil the entire image of the industry, and a day may come when the defense would raise their hands and say, no, we are not going to outsource the manufacture of defense to the private sector. This is where probably Explosive Manufacturers Welfare Association should step in to see that it's not the wrong players who entered into the field. Not only in the manufacture of defense explosives, but also in the field of commercial explosives. It's a challenge not only for the industry, it's a challenge for PESO also. We have a very meager manpower, and our knowledge on defense explosives is also restricted. But we are trying to upgrade our knowledge, and we are coordinating with the defense industries, with the DRDO labs. In fact, recently our officers, they had gone to CFIs for a 5-day training on the STEC rules and pamphlets, and I'm sure they've come back enriched. And in fact, the defense officers, they do come to our organization for training. And the best part is they have realized, in fact, in the last training program that they went to Delhi, the participants said that in the training program, we must have an expert from PESO who can come and deliver a lecture so that we know what's happening in the industrial sector. In fact, they have a materials management college for defense in Jabalpur, where they call us quite often, and we are a part of the defense. So we are also trying to upgrade ourselves, but it's again a very time-consuming process, and then you need to have the right manpower. But we are trying to move in a positive direction and trying to assist the industry so that the industry as a whole progresses. And if the industry progresses, PESO also progresses in the process. And talking about all the process safety managements and the ISMs and everything, there are all laid down codes which are there. And it's the norm. I mean, there's nothing big about it. Even small offices, they have ISO certifications, small, big. They have certifications, and it's a part of the process. And systems are in place. What is actually required is to sincerely implement the system with all sincerity. Now, what is happening is in the industrial sector, though we have produced many online returns, people are trying to deviate from that. They are trying to find ways and means to cut short and see that they entered into the gray market. Now, Ministry of Home Affairs has all along been insisting that there should be a shift from cartridge explosives to the bulk explosives. And they have been insisting that the cartridge explosives should be phased out. Then again, your bulk explosives cannot be used in all terrains, but a day may come when we may shift to the bulk explosives. And all put together, it's been a wonderful experience. My message and my view is, for any business, the bottom line is profit, but that should not be at the cost of safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Shri Sen. Now I would request Chief Controller of Explosives, Dr. S. Kamal, to share his views with all of us.
Very good evening to everyone. I would like to thank Mr. Sen for covering the entire 2 days event here. So he has made my work easy. But before I start saying something, I would request Mr. Vakil to express his views about this event.
Hello. Kamal Sahab, Sen Sahab, Sahu Sahab, Pangal Sahab, officers of the department, my colleagues in the explosive industry, guests and other speakers. I have attended the first Explosive conference in 2013, And I find that the present conference, in terms of ambience, in terms of content, has been more than 100% better than the last one. If you look at the explosive industry, for a long time it had been stagnant, and as Kamal Saab had said in the inaugural session, that there is a 20% jump this year in the demand, which has triggered by basically by the increase in the production of Coal India. Pangal Saab had rightly said that we are on the cusp of exponential growth. The exponential growth is going to come from the basic coal industry, which is growing at about 11% CAGR in the next 5 years. It is going to come from infrastructure development. Already the ministry has announced 5 lakh tons, 5 lakh crores for road sector in the next 3 years, 8 lakhs for the port development. And in an assessment made by L&T in the housing structure, where 4.5 million houses are to be constructed by 2020, the demand for cement steel will go up definitely by 8 to 10%, but the demand for aggregate is going to go up to 2 billion tons a year, which is a huge requirement and which will necessitate large-scale blasting at multiple locations. This is another challenge for managing the blasting practices, the safety systems. So all in all, the total demand of the current 11.5 lakh tons of explosives is likely to go up to 22 lakh tons by 2020, if all the projections and government's determination to go ahead. Because and this is a big challenge, because when the demand for explosive goes up to 22 lakh tons, the demand for ammonium nitrate will also go to 16 to 17 lakh tons. And this, both coming under the purview of the department, is a challenge for the industry, is a challenge for the department as well. So these are areas we have to look into. Some of the issues that were raised, and Kamal Saab had rightly raised in the beginning of his address in the inaugural session, that we should have, the association should have some system of disseminating information and guidelines to be followed as given by makers of explosives in the states. I, on behalf of the association, would like to tell you that we will work on this assiduously and come out with proper guidelines for the disseminating to all users as well. The other issue which Kamal Saab had raised was lack of R&D, and which Sen Saab has also mentioned, lack of R&D effort in the industry. And some of my friends mentioned earlier, sir, that due to low returns on the explosives, there is no money for investment in R&D. But precisely, if you look at the major companies, whenever there is a low return on the companies invest in R&D, develop new products, and service new markets. This is precisely what Premier Explosives has done, or Solar has done. They invested money in researched and developed products for defense, which is a new market opening. And that is a market which will grow in the next 5 years, and which is, like Sahu said, that 80,000 crores has been allotted for defense acquisition in this year, and this is going to increase in the coming years. So all in all, and another issue which came up is the trust deficit, where Sahu Saab had raised this issue that accidents, people don't come out openly. People don't come out openly. As Sen Saab had also just mentioned rightly, that safety systems, and these are not in place in many of the companies, so people don't come out openly for fear of any penalties. But I'd just like to rephrase what Carl Vinson had said, that the costliest manufacture is where the safety and security are the cheapest. So in the long run, one must invest in safety, one must invest in security, and of course training. These are the three prerequisites if one wants, because in the long run, any unsafe practice or any insecure position, it has a tremendous cost to the company. So this is an area where the industry has to really push up, raise their levels of safety standards. Once you raise the level of safety standards, then the trust deficit which is there will be eliminated to a large extent. This is my message, sir, and I thank you for guiding, for taking the initiative. You and Mr. Sen, Mr. Sahu, Dr. Dikshit, Dr. Manan have worked so hard along with your officers to make this a grand success. Without your support, without your guidance and your constant prodding of the industry, ExploSafe 2016 would not have been the spectacle it is today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Vakil, for sharing your, expressing your views and sharing your experiences. Regarding this increase in the production, as you have pointed out that there will be more demand of ammonium nitrate. So, I mean, you wanted some support from the PESO. So, on PESO side, there is a full support, whatever you want regarding, I mean, the ammonium nitrate storage or manufacture. PESO will extend its full support within the framework of the Explosives Act and the ammonium nitrate rules. There is no issue about that. For the import also, when we are not able to manufacture more ammonium nitrate, we can also import. The doors for the import are also open here. We have also granted a permission for handling of the ammonium nitrate in Angre port. So one port has already added. So there is no issue related with the ammonium nitrate, so far as I know. And you had also pointed about the R&D center for the explosives. So here I would like to give my opinion, personal opinion, that all the explosive industry can pool funds and can establish a explosive research and development center. For this thing, if any support is required from PESO, technical support we will always provide. But there was a point that there is a lack of funds, so there is a margin is less. You can marginally increase the rates and can collect the funds to make the R&D center. R&D center will be for all the industries, not only for one industry, and will definitely help in the growth of the explosive industry. We will be able to improve the quality of the explosives. We will be able to improve the safety standards. And through that center, we will be able to issue the guidelines, and we will be able to contribute to the growth of the explosive industry. Safety and security, everything will be, can also be looked after from that center, as in the case of the Institute of Makers of the Explosives in the United States. For that, you have a brainstorming session among yourselves and can do something. As regards the concealing of the information after the incidents, so I would like to say here that there should not be any problem from the PESO side. If something, if there is a loss of life or something happens, then case you are reporting to the police. Okay, then police has to work as per the existing rules, as the provisions of the law. So that has to be, that is as per the law. So in this case, I fail to understand what type of support you expect from the PESO.
I was trying to say that if the industry raises its safety systems
Yeah.
and levels, then there is no need to
Yes,
hide
of course.
information.
Of course.
That is the fact. That is what I'm saying.
Okay,
That
okay.
the industry also needs to respond.
Yesterday also some of the members were saying that in this matter we want Chief Controller of Explosives to interfere and support. So here you are very right that when the industry safety standards of the industry are improved, then definitely there is no scope for any accident. Actually, we all, the ultimate aim of this organizing this seminar, today's seminar, is the zero accident. The zero accident, what I personally feel is there may be 3 bullet points, which if we keep all these points in our mind, then there is no chance of any accident. The first is the selection of the site. As today also, one speaker, Mr. Trout, has explained in detail about the selection of the site. If you follow it religiously, then that will be the best site for manufacture of explosives. Regarding this setting up the industry, apart from what Mr. Trout has said, I would like to say that we should make a very good safety management plan. So we have to make a very good plan so that all the aspects related to the manufacture and safety are taken into account. Sometimes what happens, some of the manufacturers submit the safety management plan, just copy paste. They do not know what is written there. So it should be site specific actually, and it should be a good document. So that document should be just like a Bible. So all the industry members, when they are putting up the plant, they should make a very good safety management plan. And before that, before setting up the plant, they should also do the hazard identification. It's very important. And risk analysis should be done. And whatever recommendations given by the agency which has carried out the risk analysis and the hazard identification, that should be fully complied with before setting up the plant. Before setting up any new thing, we should do homework. We should apply our mind, and this work should be done by only the experienced people. And the experiences which we have learned from the last incidents, last 30 years, 40 years incidents in the country and the abroad, that should be taken into account. After that only we should make the plant. And actually, when we make a good plan in the beginning, then the safety of the plant will be inherent in the layout, in the design of the plant. Then the chances related to the process safety will not be there. It will be safe plant. Secondly, regarding the maintenance. Maintenance should be as per the maintenance of all the equipment. Machinery should be as per the recommendations given by the manufacturer of that equipment. Many times we feel that if we make the shutdown for 1 or 2 days, then there will be loss of the productivity. But we have to take the preventive maintenance. It's a very important thing. And in the equipment, the spare parts which we are going to replace should be genuine one. Sometimes the genuine spare parts are expensive, so we use the normal spare parts which are available in the local market, which are not up to the mark. Sometimes, as in case of the bursting disc, people use normal steel plate. So it's very unsafe. And there is no purpose of providing the safety devices in the system. So we should always use the good type of genuine spare parts. And the safety audit should be done every year by the third-party inspection agency. It should be done by your people also, and then it should be done by the third-party inspection agency. and all the recommendations given by the agency should be complied with. And whenever any change in the system, then it should be vetted by the, the experts in that company. So management of change. Yesterday there was a lot of talk about the management of the change. So whenever there is any change in the system or change in the SOPs, that also should be first vetted. Otherwise, because of the change, there may be some untoward incident. Then management will come to know that without their knowledge, this technical people have carried out the changes, or the operator have carried out the change. So whenever there is any change in the system, it should be vetted or by the experts in that line. And I would like to say a third point is the education and the training to the operators, supervisors, and the senior people also in the company. There should be refreshing courses for them, and they should be sent for training to other training institutes. So if you develop your own training institutes, then that will also look after this thing. In our department, we have recently, we have, about few months back, 4 or 5 months back, we have also started a training institute in our departmental testing station. So they have given training to some of the competent persons who are working in the explosive industry. So likewise, you should also have some training institutes, programs for the benefit of the people who are working in the explosive industry. I would like to say that whenever any worker who is working in the explosive industry, when he comes, he leaves his house, he goes to the factory, their family members, they pray to the God that their family member, their family head has gone to a hazardous unit. They pray to the God that he should return safely. So we should keep, we should take care of our employees. And this is about the safety. So when we keep all these 3 things in mind, then I can assure you that safety will be there, and chances of incidents will be minimized. When we follow all the safety norms, when we follow all the SOPs and rules, regulations, I can assure you that no accident will happen. I can assure, not only assure, but I can guarantee you nothing will happen. Sometimes what happens in the explosive plant, when you are manufacturing the slurry explosives, you are also manufacturing PET and you are also manufacturing DF. So the 3 ranges of products you are manufacturing. And suppose one person, one operator worker has not come in the DF plant. So what plant management may feel that their work will suffer, so they may call a person who is working in the slurry plant. So if the person who is trained, who is specialization in the slurry plant, how he can work in the DF plant? So because of this, last year one accident had happened in one of the industries. And sometimes the people who are not fully trained, they are employed by them, by people, the factory. So before employing any person, he should be given specific training, specific for that particular job. Then only he should be employed. Sometimes factory management feel that the worker is asking so much of salary, so we should employ the daily wages people. This has also happened. This is very unsafe, and this is not expected from industry like explosive industry. We have a lot of faith in the explosive industry. This type of things should never happen. You have to pay attention to your employees. You see, all the employees employed by you are just like your family members. The care which you are taking of your son or daughter, the similar type of care you have to take of your employees. This you should note down, and this should be followed strictly. Because when you see, when your employees are safe, the productivity of the company will be there, good productivity will be there. And if there is one incident, then you have to shut your company for a few days. Sometimes the license is suspended for long period. So for having good productivity, you invest in the safety. You employ good people. You employ people who are knowledgeable to perform that particular job. Today there was a very good paper about the tracking and tracing. I'm not mentioning about other papers. I don't mean that other papers are not good. All the papers are very good, excellent, but that why I'm discussing about the paper on the tracking and tracing, because it is of the national importance. Dr. Manan has very nicely explained about the department's planning. So for that, you have to prepare yourself. You will have to make a lot of changes in your company, in the packaging unit, and some changes in the manufacturing unit. So that project is pending in the ministry, and I hope within a month or so, we will get a green signal from the ministry, and we will start working on that. We already have done some work on that. We have carried out the POC, and in this matter, NIC has done a lot of good job, commendable job. They have carried out the POC. It was successful with the cooperation of some of the industry members. In this matter, as most of you may be aware that we have made a good system of the explosive return system. So its first layer was the licensing system, which had started around 2002-03. And then around 2010, we started to putting a second layer of the explosive return system. It is for the transaction of explosives. So I hope all the manufacturers, users, and dealers are doing the work online. Recently, I had issued a circular to all my offices that those who are not working online, they have to work, otherwise we will have to take action against those licensees. So now, as per the information which I have received, that most of the licensees have already started working online. So all the purchase, sale, and uses are being done online. So it's a very good and robust system, I tell you. And recently we had also started this RE13. RE13 has been a boon to the user industry who wants to work as per the law. Previously, when they were taking the explosives from their magazine, they were going for the blasting site. In the meantime, police used to seize that material, and they were asking for any valid document for carrying that explosives. But nowadays, when police stop that vehicle, they ask for the RE13. So RE13 has become very popular among everyone, among the industry members and the police people also. And when they see that the quantities mentioned in the RE13 are tally with the quantity found in the explosive van, then they also feel good. We have received reports from many places that they have also appreciated. And we have also not received any resistance from the industry. People are gladly using this RE13. And I would like to share one thing with you. I had happened to go to the United States, and I asked them about what type of transaction system they have. They said that here the stock is being maintained manually. So I was surprised that India, being a developing country, have developed such a good system. When I had given a presentation to those people, they were from the ministry, Home Security Department. So they were very much impressed with our system. Our system is such that we can even see the real-time stock of explosives anytime. And this facility has been extended to all the district authorities and the Ministry of Home Affairs, they can also view the real-time stock. They can also view the movement of the explosives from one district to the other district. So they can always see how much explosives have come to Nagpur, how much explosive have moved from Nagpur, and how much explosive is being passed through the Nagpur. So a lot of good reports have been made in our system. We can see anytime how much explosives have been manufactured here. Yesterday, today, one gentleman had raised a question about whether we can dispense with the paper records in main RE2, 3, 4, 5, like that. So actually, it will take some time. We have recently made it mandatory. Earlier, some were making online, some were not making online. So we could not make it online, make it mandatory. And since there is a provision in the rules that it has to be maintained. So for some time, for a couple of years, I think we will have to continue with this existing system. And then once our system stabilizes, then we will make it, we can dispense with that. At present, you are uploading the quarterly return by the end of the quarter. That means what you are doing today, you can upload it after 3 months. So in the period of 3 months, you can always do the editing. And there are some unscrupulous people who have entered in our explosive industry. They do manipulations. So at present, it is not possible. So I request you, keep a record, a day-to-day record with you. Regarding the monthly return and quarterly return, I had already dispensed with this, you need not submit any quarterly return to our PESO office. I've already made it, I've already informed it, issued a circulars also. Only thing you have to submit 1-page acknowledgement. That's all. So regarding this tracing, I have shared my views. And for last 2 days event, Mr. Sen has very nicely covered all the sessions, so I need not repeat it. And actually the quality of the papers which we have received is more than I had expected. I tell you from my heart. I was very much happy. And they were very nicely presented by your officials, industry members. And there was one member from the IIT also, one person from a university from Satna. They have also made a very good paper. All the papers were really excellent. One paper was also there today regarding the BMD vehicle, PLC in the BMD vehicle. It's really mind-blowing. He has done a lot of R&D work in this. When we produce a new thing, we have to work hard for that. We have to see so many industries. And so he has made a lot of changes after visiting so many industries, not only in India, but abroad. And he has applied his mind. So now the BMD vehicle, the PLC system in the BMD vehicle, which he has presented today, is a wonderful thing. With this, we will be able to do the work with precision, high degree of precision. It's really commendable. And one thing I would like to add here, that when the PESO is issuing license to the industry members, we are issuing based on the NOC issued by the district magistrate. District magistrate, he carries out the antecedents verification. You have to go to district magistrate office, police office, and so many offices several times for getting NOC. So with great difficulty, you are getting NOC. So when you are applying to us, so we believe that your antecedents have been verified, and we, with full faith, with full trust, we give the license. You give a lot of undertaking certificates that we will work as per the rules. We will not give the explosives to the unauthorized people. We will not divert any ammonium nitrate or explosives here and there. But after getting license, you forget all these things. That means you are betraying the trust which we had posed in the industry or that particular licensee. It is, I tell you, this is unacceptable. When people do such type of activities, PESO officials will never excuse those people and will take action as provided under the law, because you are betraying the trust which we had posed in that licensee. So it is really unthinkable. So I request all of you to follow all the norms and all the safety best practices which you have learned earlier and in these 2 days, today and yesterday. And you be faithful. You may earn less amount of money, but don't follow any unethical practices. This is my request to all the industry members. Because when one person does unethical practices and earns more, it gives bad impression to, bad message to his neighbor. His neighbor will also do the same thing. So this is, I mean, you seriously think it and change your ways of working. This is only for few people, 1 or 2 people, not for others. Please don't take it to your heart. I'm express my views. I'm working in this organization for last 33 years, about 33 years. So I have expressed my views. Since I have worked here, so I thought it's my duty to tell you about what I feel, what you should behave. Today, there was a very good paper here about the human behavior. We should have such type of papers in the next seminar, so that will change our mindset. With these words, I would like to thank all the delegates here and all the dignitaries here on the dais and all the senior PESO stalwarts from whom we have learned so many things. They had been our source of inspiration. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kamal. I would like to thank all the dignitaries for sharing their views and concluding remarks regarding Explosave 2016 with us today. And at this point, I would request Sri R.D. Vakil, member of EMWA, to propose the vote of thanks.
Being the last speaker, there is no bell. Dr. Kamal Sahab, Sen Sahab, Sahu Sahab, my colleague and friend Mangal Sahab, all the delegates, officers of the department, guests, ladies and gentlemen. As the curtains come down on the Explosave 2016, it has been my pleasure and duty to propose a vote of thanks. These 2 days have seen technical experts from civil and defense, research scientists, academia, sharing the platform at Explosave 2016 to share and learn from each other's experience in furthering safety and security in handling of explosives, be it defense or civil. Friends, it was not just Nishistan, Guftan, Barkhastan, but serious deliberations on safe, secure practices in the explosives industry and development of new products, accident mitigation, analysis of accidents, an excellent problem and solving papers were read by various participants on the development of new products, particularly in the defense sector, and how problems in initial manufacture have overcome due to persistence, their internal research and development. As I've said, the explosive industry is on the cusp of an exponential growth, and more people will be exposed to the hazards of explosives. It is opportune time that Explosive 2016 has provided a platform of sharing safe practices for the larger good of workmen and society at large. While the explosive industry would be investing in increasing production capacities, they must also invest in best safety devices and systems. And this has been a major concern, not only of the department, but also of the industry. It is therefore in this context, and on behalf of EMBA, I thank Dr. Kamal and all the officers of the Department of Explosives for creating this excellent platform to share the best practices for overall health of the industry. We are also thankful to the core team of the department, Mr. Sen, Mr. Sahu, Dr. Dikshit, and Dr. Manan, and other officers who have helped throughout our organizing committee in not only getting the Explosive 2016 kicked off, but kicked off well and in a grand manner. We are also thankful to Mr. Rajiv Ranjan Mishra for sparing his time, Mr. B.B. Singh, and Mr. K.P.S. Murthy for giving their views so succinctly at the inaugural session. Sir, I would like to thank the chairpersons of the various sessions, Mr. Nigam, Mr. Gupta, Mr. Sahu, Mr. Rakesh Kumar, Mr. Trout, and Mr. Sanjay Sen for conducting the sessions exceedingly well and struggling to maintain the timelines. We thank all those who have presented the papers, be they manufacturers, from the Department of Explosives, and most of all, we extremely are thankful to the experts from IIT Mumbai, the ISM Dhanbad, and the premier educational institutions, and to share their well-researched views. We are also indeed grateful to the experts from ISRO, DRDO, and SIMFA, associated engineers, and who are the largest fabricators of explosive plants, for their very erudite presentation, which has indeed enriched the Explosive 2016. The success of Explosive 2016 was possible because of the days of hard work put in behind the scenes. We are grateful to all the officers of the Department of Explosives and those members of EMBA who have spent night and day in implementing the plans made by the organizing committee. I would first of all thank the organizing committee, our president, Mr. Pangal, and Raghav Rathi, who conceived and implemented the desire of the association to have this Explosive 2016 as a premier seminar. There were officers from the industry. I would just take their names because they have played a great part working night and day to bring this to a fruition. Soumitra Rathi, Jai Khemka, Mr. Mundra, Ajit Ravdev, Mr. Kray Srinivas Rao, Atul Pimplapure, Amit Kumar Gupta, Santosh Bagde, Rajat Mukherjee, Kundan Jaiswal, N. Premanand, G. Mallikarjun, M.I. Zahir, Mr. C. Pratkar, P.D. Deshpande, Sunil Shivatkar, and Dilip Gaikwad for their untiring efforts, dedication, and ensuring that every issue has gone to clockwork. We heartily congratulate them for their performance, and a great thank you from EMBA to them. We should also be thankful to our associate industry, RCF, Deepak Fertilizers, and Shravan Shipping for coming out and helping both physically and financially to make this seminar a success. I would like, these are the people who have worked and hard throughout the, I presume, a few months in dedicated service, leaving aside their normal duties. I would also take this opportunity to thank Alpha Alpha Incorporated, particularly Mr. Pratik Mukherjee, Sofia Khaja, Dipti Joshi, and Alok and Asif for the grand conduct of this seminar. Please give them a hand, please. Particularly, I would like to mention Asif, who has helped bring out the souvenir in record time and not delayed it as it was done last time. These are on-stage people who have helped us. I would also like to thank some off-stage people, the Jalosh Band, which truly made all of us dance to their tunes. A hearty congratulations to them, and thank you very much for this. I do look forward to seeing most of you in Explosave 2018, which we shall hold in even better style and with better coordination and bring in more people to the table. And I assure Chief Controller Saab that by the time we come to 2018, our standards of safety and compliance will be much higher than it is today. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Shri Vakil. I would also like to thank the organizing committee for allowing me to be the Master of Ceremonies for this two-day event. And I would also like to say that it's been an honor to be amongst the most accomplished individuals, and I would like to thank each and every one of you from the audience, because an event is successful with a participative audience. So I think we should all give you a round of applause. Thank you very much, and I would request everybody to rise up as we proudly sing the national anthem. I would like to call upon stage with me Pratik Mukherjee from Alpha Alpha Events to sing the national anthem, and I would request all of you to join in to sing the national anthem with us. Also, a reminder before we start the national anthem, for the members who have contributed as manufacturers to Explosave, PESO officers and organizing committee to stay back for the group photograph. Thank you.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
भारत माता की, भारत माता की, भारत माता की. Thank you, everybody.